What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports to help give you the edge for this NBA 11-game slate. Cannot wait to break it down. This video is officially sponsored by Jock Market. If you guys want to be entered into the $25 giveaway that we will announce a little bit later on during our live stream, please like, subscribe, and also comment your favorite GPP play for this slate. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future NBA content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.patreon.com/DGFantasy for more information. On Patreon, we give advanced cheat sheets for all DFS sports on DraftKings. These cheat sheets include updated projections, ownership, and our overall favorite plays from slate to slate. We take it a step further by teaching you how to play fantasy sports like a shark, by showing you where the best leverage spots are to put you in the best spots to take down tourneys. Also included is our private Discord chat where you get to talk over the slate with everyone, including our coaches, to help build your lineups. Now let's go ahead and dive right into this NBA 11-game slate. And first, we like to go over the injury reports for every single one of these teams. And we have 11 games, guys, so sit tight. Let's go through these games. The Knicks are without Frank. The Washington Wizards are without Bradley Beal. That definitely impacts the picture there. Definitely gives a usage boost to some of these superstars on this team. Right now, Minnesota is without Culver and D'Angelo Russell only. Charlotte is still pending injury news right now on Devontae Graham. San Antonio is without LaMarcus Aldridge. With Atlanta, we have Bogdanovich, Dunn, Hunter, and Rondo all out for those guys, so definitely a good team to hone in on. We will go over them a little bit later on in the video. With Detroit, we have Killian Hayes and Okafor out. Mason Plumlee was a late last night scratch here, but he is expected to play in this contest, so if he is ruled out, though, Stewart is going to be chalky yet again. With Boston, we have Langford, Smart, and Robert Williams out for these guys. With Clippers, we still have Paul George out, and then with Chicago, we have Wendell Carter, Hutchinson, Markkanen, and also Otto Porter out for those guys. With OKC, we have Ariza, SGA, Hill, and Maladin all out for those guys. With Denver, the same injuries that we've been looking at. With Milwaukee, we have Drew Holiday still out for these guys, so definitely a team to hone in on. Only a 2-point spread. We love close spreads when it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks. And then with Utah, we have Mike Conley still out. With Memphis, a laundry list of guys. We'll go over them here in a little bit. With Portland, we have Collins, McCollum, and Nurkic still out for those guys. And then Orlando, a ton of pending injury news with Cole Anthony, Fournier, and Frank Mason. So let's take all that and then translate it over to our cheat sheets here. Starting with Minnesota, not too much going on with all these injuries being back. All the price tags are a little too aggressive for my liking. Maybe if you want to get behind Karl Anthony Towns, right now he's expected to be playing 32 minutes, so I do like him. Haven't been able to play Cat all season long, and I'm finally waiting for the moment. I think tonight is a good low-owned target for him. Only $9,300. We know that is a discount for Cat, so I do like him here in the spot, and a very favorable matchup for Charlotte. Just GPP option for me for Karl Anthony Towns. Switching over to Charlotte, we are still pending the injury news on Devontae Graham. If he is ruled out, that's going to give a slight boost to Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, and also LaMelo Ball. But that right now is yet to be determined. If he is ruled out, this is going to be a good pace-up spot for those guys. We'll draw a little bit of interesting chalk. Gordon Hayward is very intriguing at a $7,300 price tag. Switching over to the Knicks versus Washington, nothing really going on the Knicks side. All these price tags are a little too high for my liking. Mitchell Robinson seems to always pop at $5,000 or $5,100 right now. A 6.1 point per dollar value projected in 29 minutes, so I do like him for GPPs. This is going to be a pace-up spot for this team, so Julius Randle is actually not that bad of a option here on this slate. Only $9,100, excuse me. And we know Julius Randle plays 37 minutes, so right now in a pace-up spot, do like Julius Randle as a GPP target. I don't expect him to be that chalky going against the Washington Wizards. Looking over at the Washington Wizards, we are without Bradley Beal, so that does give a usage boost across the board to some of these guys, specifically starting with Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is averaging 1.59 fantasy points per minute and a 39.7% usage rate with Bradley Beal off the court, which is just sensational at a $9K price tag. Absolutely love him averaging 1.59 fantasy points per minute, and he's going to be one of my favorite options on the slate, even though it is a slight pace down spot here for the Washington Wizards. Another guy that I do like here from this team is Hachimura. Hachimura is a 26.1% usage guy and a 1.06 fantasy point per minute guy with these guys off the court. Also, Alex Len averages 1.52 fantasy points per minute with these guys off the court, with Bradley Beal off the court, and that's actually in 56 minutes of sample size. So if you actually want to go that direction, you can. Projected right now 22 minutes, so I don't mind him for GPPs. But my favorite overall option is going to be Russell Westbrook here, projected to play 34 minutes, and also Hachimura, also a 6 point per dollar value against the Knicks. Going down the list here, we have the Spurs. The Spurs are without LaMarcus Aldridge, and all these guys are decent options. Jakob Hurtel, 28 minutes projected right now, a 5.7K price tag. Should go under owned just because there's a ton of center options here on this slate. DeJounte Murray, also not that bad of an option, a 5.6 point per dollar value. And then DeMar DeRozan at an 8K price tag is definitely more of a GPP option here, and a pace-up spot versus the Atlanta Hawks. So I do like him here, averaging 1.37 fantasy points per minute. Derek White, 5.2K price tag, also a 5.3 point per dollar value. All these guys are going to be relatively lower owned against the Hawks, so I don't mind them. But right now, just GPP options for me against the Hawks. Going over to the Hawks, we actually have Trae Young in a very good spot. When you take all these guys off the court, Trae Young is a 32.3% usage guy and a 1.54 fantasy point per minute output. So I do like him here in this matchup. Yet another pace-up spot here when the Hawks are facing off the Spurs. John Collins averaging 1.08 fantasy points per minute, and also Capella averaging a 1.43 fantasy point per minute. So those guys are going to be my favorite options here from this team. Gallinari, also not that bad of an option, assuming he does get starter minutes. 28 minutes. Didn't do that great last game when he was a little bit more on the chalky side, a 5.8 point per dollar value. But Trae Young at a 10K price tag, going to make for a very intriguing GPP option here on this slate. Going down the list here, nothing really going on with the Pelicans versus Dallas. Zion's price tag is coming back down, an 8K price tag. Don't mind him. He is Mr. Consistent. Brandon Ingram, $8,200. Same thing with Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe. These guys are all relatively cheap, but just GPP options for me in this contest. Same thing with the Dallas Mavericks. Josh Richardson, 5K price tag, a 5.7 point per dollar value, the highest on this team. DFS, $4,500 and a 5.7 point per dollar value. Doncic, a 10.9K. Is probably going to be my favorite GPP option from this team, and Porzingis an $8,300 price tag, a 5.2 point. Now going down the list, we're going to go on to the Clippers versus Chicago. Right now we are without Paul George, so that does give a usage boost to some of these guys across the board. Kawhi Leonard does get a slight usage boost, averaging 1.41 fantasy points per minute, which is actually lower than I expected. This is going to be in a pace-up spot, so just a GPP target for me. Serge Ibaka, a 5.5K price tag, showing the best point per dollar value at a 5.3 point per dollar value. And then also Kawhi Leonard from this team are going to be my favorite two GPP targets from the Clippers. Switching over to Chicago, we have quite a bit of injuries out for these guys. Wendell Carter, Hutchinson, Markkanen, and Otto Porter. When you take those guys off the court, Zach LaVine's averaging an outstanding 1.51 fantasy points per minute and a 37.1% usage. Kobe White is next on the list here, 24.8% usage and a 1.07 fantasy point per minute boost. Denzel Valentine also next, a 20.6% usage and a 1.02 fantasy points per minute. So when you convert that over to the sheet, Zach LaVine is a 5.9 point per dollar value, and I have him projected here at a 54.36 fantasy point production. And Kobe White also not that bad of a value at a 5.6 point per dollar value. This is going to be a slight average spot here for Chicago, so I don't mind them. They're projected to score 111 points. But I do think that these guys are going to be cash viable. I think Zach LaVine at a $9,200 price tag. This is only a 7-point spread. If it does remain competitive, it's going to be because of Zach LaVine. I do like him here, projected to play 36 minutes, and he does pop on our sheet. So more GPP options, but I do think Zach LaVine is going to be cash viable. Switching over to Detroit versus Boston, Isaiah Stewart, load him up if Mason Plumlee does sit, but Mason Plumlee should be playing. That being said, none of these guys really intrigue me. I do like Jeremy Grant at $7,500. Did let a lot of people down in the last contest. This is a good defensive matchup, but really just all GPP options for me right now coming from Detroit. With Boston, Marcus Smart is still out. That does give a slight usage boost to Jaylen Brown and also Jason Tatum. When looking at them from a point per dollar value standpoint, I do like Jaylen Brown the most. Projected right now at 43.18 fantasy points and a 5.5 point per dollar value. Jason Tatum is lower, but both these guys are just going to be GPP options for me in this contest. And now a quick word from our sponsor.
Jock Market is one of the most innovative ways to play daily fantasy sports today. Just like the real stock market, Jock Market allows you to buy and sell players to earn profit based on their performances throughout the day and night. They are currently offering a variety of sports where you can enter their markets and buy them for potential gains. Unlike normal other DFS sites, once the slate starts, you can make numerous changes to your stocks by buying new players you think will continue to perform well or sell players you think are going to underperform.
Right now, they are running every sport with overlay, which gives you an easier chance to win than other major DFS platforms. Download Jock Market now on the App Store and use code DGF to receive a $20 deposit bonus. Be sure to subscribe here for all future Jock Market content. Now let's move on to the Denver OKC game. Starting with OKC, we have quite a bit of injury news out, and with Al Horford playing with these guys off the court, guys, apparently he's the best player in the NBA, averaging 1.68 fantasy points per minute and a 30.5% usage rate with these guys all off the floor. SGA take off Maladin, Ariza, and George Hill, and it's just a crazy performance from him. So I don't think he's going to be that great of a play, but I do think he's going to be a decent GPP option going against Denver. Not the best matchup for him because Jokic is obviously a good defensive player. Diallo also not that bad of a point per dollar value, a 5.1 point per dollar value, but the thing with OKC is all of these price tags have been adjusted upward to make me less intrigued in OKC as a whole. Switching over to Denver here, we do like Jokic. Jokic at a 56.7 point production. Jamal Murray also not that bad. A 5.3 point per dollar value is relatively cheap. Makes for another interesting GPP option. But keep in mind, the spread on this game right now is 12 points, so I only like these plays if it does stay close. It probably won't. Does have some blowout potential here in this Denver game. Switching over to Milwaukee, we are without Drew Holiday. That does give some usage boost to some of these superstars here on the Milwaukee Bucks. We like Chris Middleton last time he played. Didn't do too bad. Got us 44 points, but he's still averaging 1.45 fantasy points per minute with Drew Holiday off the court. I really do like him again in this matchup. Against Utah, this should remain relatively close, so you guys know, in a close contest, these guys exceed their expectations in terms of their salaries. So Giannis at 10.8K, don't mind him. It's either going to be Chris Middleton or Giannis, my two favorite GPP options. One of these guys will have a ceiling game. My favorite is going back to the well here with Chris Middleton. A 52.2 fantasy point output is what we have him projected at, and a 6.5 point per dollar value. I also don't mind Brook Lopez, averaging 0.98 fantasy points per minute in 29 minutes, equals a 5.9 point per dollar value. And same thing with DiVincenzo, 31 minutes right now and a 5.6 point per dollar value. So I still like these Milwaukee Bucks whenever it does remain close. These guys are always smashing value, and I love these guys for value plays. Right now it's at 233, which is not the highest over under, but it's the second highest and is remaining one of my favorite competitive contests on the slate. Switching over to Utah, Conley is out. Some of my favorite options from them are going to be Jordan Clarkson at 5.7K, projected in 29 minutes, a 5.3 point per dollar value. Rudy Gobert still relatively cheap, 7.5K, and does have a very good matchup versus Brook Lopez, so I like him at a 5.4 point per dollar value, but these guys are going to remain relatively lower owned, so I don't mind them for GPPs. Switching over to Memphis, we have everybody out for these guys, and really all these guys are great plays. We kept saying how much we like Kyle Anderson with these guys off the floor, averaging 1.13 fantasy points per minute and a 5.7 point per dollar value. Joe Val at a $7,200 price tag, averaging 1.4 fantasy points per minute, projected at 29 minutes. I don't mind him, a 5.6 point per dollar value. And also John Morant, averaging 1.2 fantasy points per minute at 33 minutes, a 5.5 point per dollar value. So I really do think these guys are cash viable, even amidst this really bad matchup versus the Lakers. But Kyle Anderson and Valanciunas are going to be my favorite options from this team. I think Kyle Anderson's going to be cash viable, and Valanciunas is going to be more of a GPP option just given the matchup versus AD. Switching over to the Lakers, these guys are always GPP options until somebody is ruled out, because LeBron James and AD are always questionable. So until those guys are ruled out, no interest in the Lakers whatsoever. This is a 7-point spread, so it does have some blowout potential as well. Switching over to Cleveland, nothing going on here. Just nobody really benefiting from any injuries, and all these minutes are solidified. Jarrett Allen, 27 minutes. Okoro projected in 31 minutes, and also Drummond projected in 29 minutes. These guys really don't have... I don't have too many options to choose from here. Sexton does stand out a little bit more than these guys at 6.6K, projected in 36 minutes, so I don't mind him for GPP. Switching over to Portland, Damian Lillard at $9,800 did not get a price increase or decrease. Don't mind him for GPPs with all these injuries off the court. He does get a slight usage bump, but against Cleveland, this is going to be a slight pace down spot for them. Only projected to score 113 points, and that's actually relatively low for Portland, so I don't mind them here in this matchup. Kanter and Lillard are going to be my favorite options, but just GPP options for me in this contest. Last but not least, we still have pending injury news from Orlando, just like last night. If these guys are held out, I absolutely love Orlando in this matchup. Vucevic, $9,400 is going to be highly owned yet again against Sacramento. The defensive list Sacramento Kings that we always talk about, they're projected to score 108 points, which I think is relatively low. Usually when a team does play the Sacramento, they go over their projected over under. Fournier, a shooter, $5,900. I don't mind him here in this contest. If he does play, I absolutely love him. But again, all this is pending. We will revisit this team a little bit closer to lock on our live stream. And then last but not least is the Sacramento Kings. Not too much interest here. Rashawn Holmes at $5,600 is relatively cheap, projected in 30 minutes, but probably my only guy that I do like here for GPP purposes. Fox at $9,000 is relatively more expensive. And then Halliburton's always a good GPP option. And that will wrap up my breakdown, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this breakdown. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course smash that like button for all of our future NBA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day, and let's cash.